my strength, such a light as shows a feast, such a feast as length in length, such a strength as makes his guest. Come, my joy, my love, my heart, such a joy as none can move, such a love as none can part.
I appreciate Jim Olivetti for sending me this earlier this week. It's an article by Garrison Keillor. I used to listen to a Prairie Home Companion when I lived in Minnesota, which I did for a little bit in the 90s. Let's see. He writes, Christmas changed for me 27 years ago. It got small. My mother loved the holiday, and we had the tree and stockings and piles of gifts and the big dinner, and I did my best to keep up the tradition after I left home. And he talks about he would spend Christmases in Copenhagen, and they would drink and feast and have lots of decor and so forth. But in 1997, as Christmas approached, my wife was 9 months pregnant, and we sat in our New York apartment with no need of tree or gifts or goose. The anticipation was everything. We lit a candle and waited day after day, and on the 29th, the Holy Child arrived, and the I'm not going to say that, obstetrical nurse, help me out here, Amanda, obstetrical nurse, thank you, handed her to me, her arms waving, her legs dancing, and the crappy songs vanished, the stores full of junk, the Christmas tree lots, the glittery lights, and it's been a beautiful, simple holiday ever since. I don't come to church Sunday morning as a saint. I come to contemplate my messy life and the time I've wasted and friends I've abandoned. But on this Sunday morning, the deacon read from Luke's gospel loud and clear, "Be on guard that your hearts are not weighted down with the worries of this life." Be on guard. Enjoy the simple pleasures, the prayer, the benediction, the rousing Bach postlude, the handshakes, and the luxury of the warm taxi ride home, the embrace of my love who meets me at the door, the fresh coffee, and a sugary donut. We live in troubled times, but perhaps there needs to be a time out from trouble. And maybe I'll make it Sunday. Put the worries of this life aside. And he closes with this little piece. We light the wreath of Advent, a season whose coming is meant to lighten the spirit of those who come near it and make us reasonably content. Here ends the reading. And the baby, we're told, is born in a stable or a cave, depending on the translation, or a kind of a grotto, but somewhere inconvenient because there wasn't space in that main house. Whatever else the story of the Nativity is about, it's most surely about God coming into the world in human form. That is the story of Jesus. That is the story of other gods and mortals, but that is the story that we are focused on in the Advent season. Skipping all of the theological debates that have caused so much division for these many, many centuries, this is ultimately a sacred story embraced by a human community that spreads across the globe. Whether Christian or not, I think it grabs the imagination. A story about how God, the ground of being, the universal creative force, actually desired to intimately know and share our experience as human beings. I love Greek mythology, and I'm always especially interested in the stories about how the gods come down from Olympus and mess with the human beings. So, that's another kind of version. But in this version of God's desire to be sharing our experience as humans, it's not for politics, it's not for jealousy like happens with the Greek gods. It's for love. It's for love. It's hard being a human being. It's a demanding path, the journey from birth to death. We are these bodies. We are also a lot more than just these bodies. And in the end, of course, we depart these bodies and re-enter the mystery whence we came. Should this story then, the story of Advent and the Nativity and the story that leads up to Christmas Eve, not invite and prompt us to love our bodies, to know them as beloved, as possessing divine spirit and attributes? Well, it should, certainly could, and it should. How healing that could be, how helpful to spend a season in positive, affirming relationship with our bodies. In the coming weeks, then, I really want to encourage you to tune into your inner dialogue about your body. Pay attention. What are the thoughts? What's that inner tape that's running? How much kindness and appreciation is there? How much frustration and judgment and condemnation is there? It might be hard when you start to hear that little, whispering voice to say, oh my God, you know what? I'm saying a lot of really mean things to myself, looking in the mirror or getting in and out of the car, or whatever I'm doing. How about the inner dialogue, the tapes that are playing about other people's bodies? Watch, listen, attend. Be honest, just, notice what is going on inside of yourself when you pay attention to other people's bodies. It's something we do so constantly, we don't really stop and think about it. All of them are God vehicles. So by the time we get to Christmas Eve, which I hope we will reserve some time to think about the origin story, in addition, sorry, that was awkward. So by the time we get to Christmas Eve, I hope we will have been able to spend some time thinking about the original story in addition to whatever other preparations you might have going on for the holiday. And hopefully by then you might be a little more tuned into your relationship and inner dialogue about your body, your good and dear body. The other day I saw a news clip of a woman, and it might have been recent news or it might have been an old one, I don't know. But this woman was literally giving birth on the curb of the hospital. It's a very short clip and it's a little blurry. I would imagine it might be footage taken from the security camera outside the hospital, where the woman's husband, presumably her husband or partner, has pulled up in the car to try to get this laboring woman into proper care. She doesn't quite make it. She doesn't quite make it to the curb. In a riveting human drama, you see a little head emerge from the woman's body as she stands there in thrall to the dictates of her birthing body. She's standing astonishingly, and two police officers are off to the side. One a male officer, the other a female officer, and the female officer has her hands like this in the traditional oh my God pose, in total astonishment. And while this tableau is occurring, you hear the voice of another woman kind of off stage as she's running on, and she's yelling, "I'm the midwife, it's okay, I'm the midwife," and she actually catches the baby before it reaches the pavement. Midwives have always been affectionately and colloquially known as baby catchers, but I've never seen this nickname earned so literally. She actually intercepts the newborn's head, like a football. It's amazing. And this man is rushing in to support this woman, his partner, as this is happening. And it is so beautifully cinematic, coordinated. I mean, the most legendary choreographer could only applaud the beauty of this dance. And amazingly, the woman who has just birthed a baby steps up onto the curb. She somehow manages to do, and then she gets herself up on the curb, and the man is assisting her. Absolutely beautiful. All bodies operating completely, optimally, amazing. I watched it like 20 times. There are moments when the words of Psalm 139 come to mind. God, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. There are 1,000 times a day any of us could and should be uttering something like this prayer of thanks, but I'm afraid that we are so much more often uttering words of criticism, frustration, rejection, and admonition. And I believe that pains the heart of God. I believe that this is a form of theft of joy and gratitude in our lives, to have a running commentary directed at our own bodies and the bodies of others that observe fault, imperfection, and that reduce the miraculous complexity of this mind-body vehicle to metrics, steps, repetitions, calories, inches, pant sizes, pounds. And I know that it is a form of interpersonal emotional violence to police, critique, control the bodies of our loved ones, and especially our children. And I grieve that this is such a common form of cruelty. During the Olympic Games this summer, a very amusing online trend emerged, with people sharing video clips of themselves totally failing at sports, with the Olympic theme playing in the background as the soundtrack. I believe this trend started with Olympians themselves showing the world that they had started as beginners and experienced a lot of mistakes and mishaps along the way to becoming the elite athletes that they now are. But ordinary people picked up the trend, and it was so endearing, like dance recitals gone completely wrong, all kinds of blooper reels, people falling into the pool at the beginning of a swim meet, and all with the background of that dignified song, dun, 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 dun. Just people wiping out, very, very sweet. And I thought it was wonderful because, all joking aside, our bodies are heroic in all conditions and at all ages, all abilities. When you're impatient with yours, when it's hurting, or doesn't have the range of movement that it used to, or you can't do the hike that you wanted to or once could, or the wheelchair or the walker feel constricting and limiting, Play that Olympic theme in your mind. Play that for yourself. You are a champion. This is not an easy existence in our bodies. When your thoughts are judgmental because you polished off a batch of cookies or you didn't get to the gym, please do an audit of the ways that your body has been a vehicle of blessing, creativity, of love, of the holy presence, because that is so much more important than the thing you didn't do or the achievement you didn't achieve. Yeah, you ate too much. I'm so tired of people assigning like this great moral value to eating or not eating, because did we feed someone else in spirit or in body? Did we listen? Did we comfort? Did we stop to pet an animal or give a child a compliment? To love our bodies is an act of resistance. In a world where bodies are politicized and increasingly controlled by the church and the state, which is such a horrible development to watch, I was heartened to see RuPaul, the mother of drag queens, put out a message to the queer community and all allies, and RuPaul said in part, "We are going to continue to be joyful. We are going to dance. We are going to love ourselves." And if you are a RuPaul fan, as I am, you might know one of her other slogans, which she often repeats at the end of RuPaul's Drag Race. How many of you are fans of the Drag Race? Okay, so you know it, you can say it with me. If you don't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love anybody else or somebody else? That's right. If you don't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else? The gospel of RuPaul. Baby Jesus, that little baby, grew up to be a social and spiritual reformer. And it's too easy, and it is too often forgotten, it's too easy to forget that his ministry was carried out through acts of inclusion of rejected and reviled bodies. People with infectious disease, people with leprosy, sex workers, disabled people who had been told that they were expendable and cast aside, and told that sin, in fact, had caused their disability. And he challenged that toxic theology. He touched and included and cared about women with reproductive health issues, such as the woman known in the gospel tradition only as the woman with the flow of blood, which would have made her taboo in that society. It is this fact, this gift, this example of compassion, of insistence on the belovedness and worthiness of every body, that should be the most embraced and remembered and lived out ethic demonstrated by Jesus. But as you know, his followers don't often do that. So to the street preacher I saw yesterday with a small gaggle of followers, I passed by him when I was driving into Saugus, I wanted to pull over and say, put down your megaphone and talking about sin, and go feed some hungry people, clothe the naked, visit the prisoner. On my way home from Saugus, though, I saw people over by my brother's table, right in front of my brother's table, tucking warm scarves and hats and gloves into the chain link fence right there in front of it. And I thought, aha, there it is. Okay. And there it is, our mitten tree. A scarf or hat against the cold, a meal to fill the empty stomach and the hurting heart that fears no one cares. That is the way we love bodies. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are. Now. Today, just as surely as you were at the moment you were pushed into this world by the tremendous effort of your mother's body. Emmanuel means God with us. Can you believe that? God with us, God with you, in you, as part of you, even in your creakiest days, in sickness and in health, in moments of immobilized vulnerability, in blocked bowels and menstrual cramps, in insomnia and acne outbreaks, in gout flare-ups and congestive heart failure, in all of this, just as surely as in your most proud physical accomplishments and most beautiful photo-worthy moments. Emmanuel, you are in this world as an incarnation of the holy, a unique, unrepeatable, sentient, conscious, moral being whose thoughts and deeds at any given moment can be a vehicle for praise, wonder, and love. With every candle you see, with every green wreath, with every nativity scene you see, may that be an occasion to remember your own belovedness and to be among those who help birth the unconditional love of God into this broken and hurting world. Amen.